This is a disclaimer. This podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only, and the concepts that are discussed in this episode have not been fact-checked. Some topics brought up in this episode may be triggering for you, and if you are struggling with mental health issues, then please see a mental health professional.
Okay. Hey, g'day. Welcome back to Unhinged, episode 4, with Tessa and Lyra.
Yeah, welcome everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Tessa just spoke, and this is Lyra. I'm sorry. I'm Lyra. No, but you know when you're listening to a podcast and you're not necessarily
you don't
watching,
know who's who.
and you don't know who's who. Like I always do that with like dual audio books or like a podcast. I'm like, who? If they're two females or two males, like they sound similar.
That's me listening to Sam Harris with like anyone he's got on there, and it's like because he has a really soothing voice.
It's so monotone too.
And then if he gets on another guest, I'm like, I have no idea. It may as well be him, just doubling as the second person. Yeah. Yeah,
and there's who else? Like I think it's very prominent with female podcasters too. Like if they match their high pitch, like if we match high pitch, so like if you're really if you're like a really enthusiastic, if you've got a really enthusiastic voice that you match to one another, then you're on. Then there is no disentangling you. But I feel like we're both fairly
I feel like we're a bit low.
Yeah.
Which is maybe a good thing. I don't know. We both don't have, I wouldn't say either of us have high-pitched voices at all.
No, definitely
In fact,
not.
I would say maybe not deep voices, but like lower than
average female voices.
Yeah.
I think so. I would definitely agree with that. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about this cultural situation happening on TikTok right now called That Girl. I think most listeners will know who that girl is. If you're gonna watch this on our YouTube channel, then you'll probably definitely understand what that girl is. Yeah. And we'll try and describe it the best we can and pop photos up. But it's essentially like this platform, this ideal girl that you need to aspire to. It came on TikTok at around 2021, and that's when it really went viral. Yeah. And now you got all these girls that are trying to be that girl. So that's it. What do you see that girl as?
So that girl, I saw clean girl aesthetic first. So when I was on TikTok, and actually, I do genuinely like the aesthetic of like a clean girl, because I just saw girls posting videos about like their morning routines, their evening routines, their exercise routines, what they were eating, these sorts of things, and they were like displaying how, you know, like certain meals and things like that, and how they, and like these small sections of their life, but it was like this almost like quite beautiful to watch. Everything was so perfect. Like they were eating super healthy. They wore these like beautiful clothes, like, and very neutrals and beiges.
It's
and
always
things like
beige. It's always
neutrals
and
beige,
whites, or
clean, very clean, and like that. And like linen and
linen, Their beds are always made.
Yes,
they've always got some products on Amazon that they're linking in the description. Totally on the bedside table.
They have like an extremely extensive facial routine, not makeup, but more like serums, skincare routine. Huge.
You gotta have a mask on every night.
Every night. Lots of green powders.
Green powders in the smoothies?
In the smoothie, and with the zzz.
If you're not watching it, you should listen to this. What Tessa means by zzz is, you know those milk frothers that are like handheld milk.
Yeah. But they're not blending milk though. It's like green powder in it.
It makes no sense. When I looked at it at first, I was like, oh, what a great idea. And then I saw, no, I didn't. No, I definitely didn't buy one. But I looked at it and I was like, wait, what's the difference between like that and just a spoon?
That's what I was thinking, because I like stir my Metamucil every night with a spoon. If I frothed it, I don't think it would be nice.
No, I actually stir things with a fork. Because there's like more.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That you're a real innovator.
It's motherhood.
Yeah. Because you've run out of spoons.
Yeah.
Is that why?
I don't know. I probably
okay.
just didn't empty the dishwasher one day and thought, I'll use a fork, fuck it. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah. I think that there's nothing wrong with the clean girl aesthetic. And I think clean girl in and of itself isn't really toxic because it's just... This is just my interpretation of the events that are happening on TikTok. That clean girl is just wearing neutrals and having
a morning routine, going to the gym, looking after yourself, like
see,
a bit of self-care.
I see that as that girl.
Oh.
See, I see that girl.
I think there's a Venn diagram and
I
the
think
two
there
overlap.
is. I agree. I think that girl is like, yeah, that girl and clean girl definitely have overlap.
Does that girl have a little bit more spirituality going on?
That girl is... Yeah, she has to have spirituality.
There's manifestation happening.
There's got to be some manifestation and there's got to be some gratitude, particularly the 5-minute morning gratitude out of that Have you ever seen that 5-minute morning book?
No.
Okay, so there's this book, and I think it's it's actually a really good idea, but I think that we've glamorized it a little bit. It's just a gratitude journal, and it's like, what is 3 things that you're thankful for today?
Yeah.
And then you reflect on it at night, and it says like, what should I have done better?
Okay.
And like, what are my intentions for the day? What are my intentions for tomorrow? Okay. That sort of thing.
Gratitude journaling, yeah, okay.
So that's fine. That's all fine. But let's just start to piece it together. Hopefully, like, by now you've understood the aesthetic that we're talking about of like clean girl, that girl. There is an essential problem here. So at first I was scrolling through TikTok and going, oh, this is awesome. I'm gonna do this. This is great. And I love like a beige aesthetic. I'm all for that.
Yeah. It looks nice. Like, I love the minimalist aesthetic, like the neutrals, the beiges.
Yeah. And I think like Kim or Kanye started that in a number of ways. But anyway, it's just an aesthetic.
But there is like a cluster of celebrities that kind of all look the same, that promote that lifestyle as being completely achievable and the right thing to do for if you're a young girl in your 20s. This is exactly how you should live. Drinking green powders and starting work at 10 a.m. in the morning and working from home and like living in a bougie apartment and and if you don't do that, you can't be that girl. It's this exclusive club.
Yeah, it is an exclusive club. And so I think the problem with everything that we have said is it's essentially leading a culture of what we saw when we were in school, right?
Right, yeah.
Like, that girl, I was scrolling through it and I was like, oh, this is alright, this is a vibe. Then I realized how problematic it was. And then I realized, hey, do you remember Tumblr? Yeah. You remember Tumblr?
Yeah, dude. This is the same thing over again. Like, it was not that girl. I don't even know what the name of it was.
We didn't necessarily have a name, I don't think.
But Tumblr was toxic.
Yeah.
For promoting thinspo. And
thinspo is a big trigger word for this, yes.
Thinspo. Remember Bonespo?
Bonespo, I didn't even... Oh my god, a bunch of memories are flooding in now. Bonespo.
I feel like I was somewhat shielded from this. I was at boarding school at the time. So, like, I did have Tumblr. I didn't really understand it, though. I just was, like, slightly out of the loop. But I do remember seeing some of this stuff. I don't think I was affected as, like, many other girls were. But I do remember those hashtags. And then I do remember those quoted images that would say things like, pizza or hip bones.
Oh my gosh, yes, soda or
thigh gap.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And thigh gap. I remember thigh gap being a thing. What the hell was that about?
Yeah.
And I remember, and I've never in my life had a thigh gap.
You know what? No one really has a thigh gap. Like, unless you're very thin
And long.
Yeah.
But it was this weird, but why was the absence of your body considered attractive for a while? It's like, no, it's not her legs that are beautiful, it's the space between them. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Who invented that? That's wild.
I actually don't know, but like, there's so many links here that I'm seeing. It's essentially to that girl. We have made this thinspo stuff more aesthetically pleasing, and we've put it in a video format, and we're presenting people doing it live. And the problem is that we're sort of starting to see the brunt of all of this. So in research, there's this thing called like cohort effects of mental health disorders, and so you were born in 95, hey? Yeah, I'm 96. So our cohort experienced a very large amount of eating disorders, and I think I personally attribute that to this sort of Tumblr phase, this Fitspo phase that we experienced. And you know how you said that you weren't necessarily impacted by that. I most definitely was in high school, and that carried on with me for a really long amount of a lengthy amount of time, and it took years of therapeutic work and years of work within myself to undo, because I thought that the thinspo, that should be at the top of the hierarchy. Being thin kind of needs to come before everything else, and not just being thin, but looking a certain way. So, for example, something that the thinspo phase taught us is not only how to, and this is the same thing as that girl, is not only how to what to weigh, but also what to wear. So it was typically in my Tumblr era, it was sort of grunge-ish clothing, those really low-waisted 1 teaspoon bandit shorts. What else?
Ripped denim shorts with pockets hanging out of them.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. I had a couple pairs of those.
Yes.
But ripped short shorts and mullet shorts too. You know, the ones that have the longer back and the very short front.
The mullet shorts are the bandits. That was the style of them.
Mullet skirts.
That was the thing. I think the thing about the mullet skirts as well was that you can sort of see your thighs a bit.
Yeah.
And they were kind of geared towards a more grungy sort of manner. I don't know.
There's and I think the chunky sort of accessories.
Yeah, it was mainly that kind of grungy vibe, and it looked a lot like Jenny Humphrey from Gossip Girl, or a little bit like the Veronicas even.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there was that vibe, and then the other half of it was the Fitspo phase.
Yes.
Which was achieving the same body. They're both very thin. They're both very bony.
Yeah.
But achieving it in the way of hitting the gym and being super duper tanned. And Australian girls were at the top of this because we loved a tanned Aussie girl.
Tanned Aussie girl, tall, wearing the matching. Well, this is more now still. This is
still happening. Yeah.
So the matching sports bra with the matching pants and white runners, and
white runners is still
a thing.
Oh,
I think it looks kind of cute, but again, it is creating this.
It's box to live in.
It's box to live in, yeah. So those products are expensive too. Here's the other thing. That's the thing we don't talk about, is those nice beige neutrals, they're pretty expensive if you want anything that's remotely decent. Linen's expensive. Natural fibers.
Real
are
linen
more
is expensive.
Yeah. So it's I think that it's elite as well. It's a bit of a classism, actually is the word I'm looking for. I think it's if you want to be seen as attractive and beautiful, you have to have these things. You have to look this way, and then you can join the club and you have to behave this way too. And I think that's the problem with it. There's nothing wrong with saying, oh, I like the style. I like that I feel like that's a nice exercise outfit. I would buy that for myself if I saw something. But it's creating the aesthetic that you have to maintain.
And maintaining it is just not sustainable.
No, I think it's like I think you're right. We're seeing a very strong parallel between the Tumblr-esque aesthetic of bone sport. That was more like, I guess, like that pro-Anna like time where people were like intentionally just not eating. I don't think Fitspo was on the cards yet. I don't know how much exercise was involved here. I think it was just a lot of starvation.
Yes, yeah.
And then the rise of like gyms and like F45 and Fitstop and all of those started becoming more popular like post, I don't know, maybe around like 2012 to 20, I don't know, till now. So big gyms and like group training stuff became a thing.
Big gyms were very much a thing in like 2013, 2014.
Absolutely. So we're seeing now that girl, she goes to the gym and her meals appear a lot healthier. Whereas I think like back in Tumblr Girl just didn't eat. Right? Tumblr Girl just skipped meals and had coffee. Yeah. Right? Whereas now, like, that girl eats and it's disguised as being super healthy and super good for you. But like you said, there's like 1,500 calories with like a salmon bowl and this, that. But even then doing an insane exercise routine and it's like, well, you probably should be eating more than that. And they objectively still look quite underweight and it's being sold as healthy.
To achieve that stick thin figure, abs, there is no way you consume that many calories.
Yeah.
So that girl is lying.
So so at least Tumblr Girl admitted that it's just like, hey man, just don't eat. Like and this is how I get this, but I don't eat. Whereas like that girl is pretending to be super healthy and is not, and that is like even worse somehow. There's way more like malice tied into that. That girl is being fraudulent. Yeah,
that girl is manipulative AF.
Yeah. That ties into it because at least you can see the objective problems with Tumblr Girl because I was like, it's not good for you to obviously not eat. But if that girl is out here eating salmon and avocados and poached eggs and green powders, well, that looks good, doesn't it? And doing an intense treadmill routine every day and like, but like you said, sometimes you see the thinness of these people is like, you're not actually doing that. So then when somebody does follow your routine and tries to become who you are, well, and then when they inevitably fail, you're going to create a shame cycle where people feel like they can't be in this club of thin, pretty, rich white girl.
And also mentally well, apparently. Apparently the whole goal of that girl is to be like psychologically like content.
Super zen. Practicing gratitude every day.
Composed.
Yeah.
When you're doing all those things.
I mean, and then you're still not achieving like I don't feel how I should feel. Well, then, for me anyway, that would create, I guess I'm just not good enough to be in this club. I guess I'm not that girl, right?
But that's the problem is that you'll never be that girl. I'll never be that girl.
Yeah, I don't think that girl. No one
is
that's
that girl.
The thing. So of course. So there's an ideal that actually doesn't exist, and we're working towards something that's completely, unsustainable, at least. I don't want to say unachievable because I feel like it's achievable for a short period of time until inevitably life throws you a spanner in the works and then you have to drop your morning routine for a bit or this, that, the other. But then now all of a sudden you're not that girl. So now there's a perfect opportunity for you to feel shame and bad about yourself. And then the cycle begins. So it really is that, and if you parallel that with old Tumblr Girl, it's like you can skip a couple of meals. It's unsustainable though. And then, when girls start to eat and inevitably get hungry and they feel like a failure, it's like, well, I'll never be that girl. So it's a shame spiral.
It is a shame spiral. And in all seriousness, it's starting to like one of the reasons that I was really keen on doing this episode is kind of to spread awareness about how toxic this is, and to sort of I hope that a young girl is like listening to this and going, yeah, it's unsustainable, because I've seen many young people who are genuinely suffering from this. And if you look up, like now there's some articles and stuff like that that are titled like "That Girl Gave Me an Eating Disorder."
Yeah.
So the problem with this "that girl" phenomenon is it's causing it's causing another cohort of body image issues, particularly in young women. And it's causing so much guilt and shame because people like Gigi Hadid are eating or posting a video of them making a pasta, and in reality, they're not actually eating that shit.
No, there'd be, or just eating like a tiny little bit. But now it's gone like this viral trend, like, oh, try Gigi Hadid's like vodka pasta. Vodka pasta is absolutely delicious, but for anyone that it's a whole bowl of pasta with like, it's delicious. There's tomato and cream, and it's like, come on, queen, like you're obviously not eating that. Or like when I think it was Gigi Hadid that said, just like, I eat pizza like every night. It's like, no, you don't lie to people.
Yeah.
And it's like, then what you, like you were saying before, is like, if Gigi Hadid can convince people that, you know, oh, just eat all the carbs you want, like eat my vodka pasta, blah, 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 blah. And then people do, and then they don't look like Gigi Hadid, because what you don't see behind the scenes is like Gigi Hadid, Bella Hadid, they would have like a whole team of personal chefs, personal trainers, people like maintaining their weight because they're models, right? Their whole thing. It isn't just their own, like, it's not just them on the line. There would be like a whole team of people helping them maintain their figure. Money isn't an issue either, so they would be on like various medications to try and make themselves thin. There's
like
so
the diabetic medications.
Just so many things they could do to like maintain that figure, while at the same time trying to convince like common people that they eat vodka pasta every night. Like, come on, bitch. Like, come on.
And also, Gigi Hadid and Bella Hadid, like, if we're looking at those two in particular, but also a lot of models, because a lot of models do come from really wealthy families that are willing to kind of put money into them and invest in them, and they already have the connections of those agencies that are going to take them on, because it's really good for the agency's public image if they've taken on Kendall Jenner or Gigi Hadid or Bella Hadid. These people come from dynasties, and the problem with this is, and then promoting a certain type of eating, is that when you're promoting healthy eating, that's okay, but when you're a girl who's living in a share house and you're trying to eat super healthy and you're spending, I don't know, like $5 on a vegetable, and then you haven't eaten that vegetable in like 3 days and it's rotten, you're going to be a bit upset. And Gigi Hadid and Bella Hadid don't realize like the actual cost of healthy eating. They don't realize. They don't realize that like what it takes to meal prep. They don't realize the effort.
Because they have like personal chefs. They like wouldn't have to cook at all.
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, or even going back to, you know, like all the pills, potions, and powders that people that they promote. It's like, oh, I can't live without my like collagen green elephant shit powder. Like I can't, you know. So, but that's expensive. Like you go to the shops and that's like $50.
It's like $50 for a bit of powder.
And then, but I'm also gonna have my vodka pasta, and I'm just like all you guys, ha ha ha. Like I'm so relatable. It's like, no, you're not. That is unbelievably toxic too. You know, like we were saying before, at least Tumblr girl admitted that things were. It's like, yeah, I just don't eat. Was transparent about it. It was toxic, like really bad advice. But the problem with the new trends is that it's, no, this is super healthy, and I have a really balanced diet, and I really look after myself, and you can too. And but it's not, because they're actively lying to you about what they do eat and what they do consume.
And they also hide that maybe they go and vomit it out, or maybe they starve themselves for...
Maybe they never ate the vodka pasta.
Maybe they never ate it.
But it was it's like a PR stunt to like make them seem more relatable, and to start a trend, to go a bit viral, to, you know, that is so manipulative. And if you are young and you're like 17, 18, dude, if you're like 25 and you see that and you're like, damn, you're just going to feel again like you're left out of this club because you can't eat vodka pasta.
And stay thin while eating the vodka pasta.
Right. So, you know, and you might not look like Bella or Gigi Hadid or Kendall Jenner, which is fine because people don't normally look like that. But, that's the problem I have with, like, celebrity. At least just admit that you're not relatable.
Yeah.
Just say, it's like, I have a really insane diet. I have a really insane set of rules I have to follow. I have lots of personal chefs. Like, this is not attainable.
I have a marketing team behind me telling me my marketing strategies every single month.
Yeah, my body is, like, my biggest asset, so I have to do all these crazy things. It is totally, like, just admit that. Don't say that you eat burgers and pizza.
If we're relating back to when we were younger, or like to our kind of high school years, an image comes to mind of Cara Delevingne. She was the head of Thinspo. And her eating burgers, her eating pizza.
That's right, yeah.
She was one of those people, and like she's one of those people that really championed that idea of I can eat whatever I want and stay thin. So there's the boat of the Tumblr era, the 2012, 2013 Thinspo era, when social media first came to rise, and we didn't necessarily understand the psychological impact that would have on young girls or women now, and men, in a variety of mental health disorders, not just eating disorders, maybe like depression, anxiety, like a lot of other things that went wrong from that era that we're still trying to repair and manage. Now, we can separate that as being a mistake that was made by some people. I know that there have been a lot of fitness influencers, for example, that have come out, like Sarah's Day, for example. She's like a really body positive person now. But she came out saying that this is wrong, this was really fake of me to do, and she apologized, essentially. She understood that. Who was the other influencer that you said?
Essena O'Neill.
Essena O'Neill.
Oh, Essena O'Neill. Yeah, what a time. What a time. Yeah, she okay, so that was like 2013, 2014, I think. That was also the vegan community. That was like a whole thing. And it was like, so she didn't start off vegan. She was an influencer anyway, living around the sunny coast. Young girl, maybe she's like 16, 17 when she started this. And the rise of like influencers on Instagram, and she eventually, after like being in the game for a while, decided to say, you know what, all this is fake. And this was before you had to be transparent about paid sponsorships as well. So influencers were just saying, oh yeah, I genuinely use these products. They were getting paid for it behind the scenes, but there was no transparency. So this was before then. So it actually was Essena O'Neill that like cracked it and was like, I got paid for all of these things. This is how many photos it took to achieve this one shot. I was miserable here, and just fully blew up. Then she went kind of viral for a while, and then all of her Instagram friends, like all the other influencers, started hating on her, I guess, because Essena was exposing them. I don't know who was right or wrong in this situation, but like all these influencers started hating on her, and then she just started getting a lot of hate, and then she just disappeared from the internet forever. It was wild. I hope she's doing okay. But now, but like this, that was ages ago, and it was like, and then now people are a little bit more transparent with paid sponsorships and things like that. But it's still like, but they're still lying about other things, like, oh yeah, I just eat like Macca's every night.
Exactly. And that cohort wasn't necessarily aware of what was going on, but what they did, some people stood up and said, this is wrong. And we now understand like the brunt of all of this, like the mental brunt of all of this. The problem with what's happening now is that these people are fully aware that this can cause a lot of psychological damage, and then they still choose to advertise themselves in a certain way and promote a diet culture that's really unattainable.
Yeah.
And very expensive.
So expensive.
It's manipulation on a mass scale.
Absolutely. And fundamentally very narcissistic.
Oh yeah.
As well, which I don't think we really want to get into too much, but like there is something so bad about telling people that this is like how you should live your life and this is how to be successful or pretty or just like me. It's unbelievably whitewashed. It's very classist and it's unhealthy and it's a lie.
Yeah.
So, that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah. And everyone gets on a trend like this when it comes. Even like the biggest influencers. Like, for example, like, I don't know if you've seen the Kardashians recently. They've all got their implants taken out. They've all got like these.
Oh, they're a lot thinner.
They're a lot thinner. They're taking those diabetic medications to deliberately make themselves thinner.
That shouldn't be legal.
So
That's really bad. That's so bad.
It is so bad. And that scares me because if influencers like that with a really big voice are taking their implants out and they're manipulated by this thinness trend, then what is the rest of the world going to do? Are we going to go back to heroin chic? Are we going to go back to Kate Moss?
Oh, yeah, like worshipping like super thin bodies. Yeah, I certainly hope not, because it's at least when we were into like big bums and big thighs and stuff, at least people were maybe feeling a little bit better about themselves. Even
if the Kardashians' big bums and thighs were fake to a degree, because we all know they have silicone and they have plastic surgery teams, at least that's embodying a certain weight class. At least it's including a certain weight class. It's kind of balancing the thinness of other people like Hadid or Kendall Jenner. Definitely. But now what we're doing is we're setting a trend where thinness is widely acceptable as the best kind of body, and not just thinness, like stick thinness. We're heading towards that slowly.
It's unhealthy thin, like it's and worshipping that kind of aesthetic is so toxic. And I think maybe starting to drown out the body positivity community, which I'm a big advocate for. I think that's great. I'm not here for the promotion of obesity or saying that obesity is fine. I was obviously quite unhealthy to be well overweight, but I do worry that maybe for people who are young and more impressionable, more affected by this, I feel super forever grateful that it doesn't affect me as much as it does other people, and I'm not even sure why, but I consider myself very lucky for that. But what I worry is that like when we've made moves towards body positivity and it isn't that I think it's a good idea to also say that obesity is healthy and fine, because I don't think it is. And being overweight is bad for your health. But we were for a minute walking towards something that seemed healthy, like body positivity and being okay with curvaceous people, and also just like loving your body no matter what it looks like, and giving yourself unconditional compassion for how you look, and appreciating that everybody is unique and different. I just worry that this is being washed out by that girl or clean girl coming back, being disguised as something that's really healthy and great, but is just Tumblr girl all over again, wearing a mask.
And the problem with that is back then you had one platform, two platforms that we can share that on in an image format. Now we've got videos of it. Now it's across 4 or 5 different platforms. And now social media is a much bigger part of our lives than it ever was. And so if the effects of Tumblr Girl were extremely, extremely detrimental to people's health, what's that girl gonna do to this next generation? Because it's gonna be on a much wider scale.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And and like we've said before, the elements of not just like the food, but there's like elements of wealth and stuff like that as well. Like, So whereas at least Tumblr girl was a bit, there was
no wealth.
Anybody could be a Tumblr girl if you
Yeah.
just didn't eat.
Yeah.
It's just like now it's like, no, in order to be that girl, you need all these extra things, plus you need to be thin. Which makes it worse.
So it's creating a culture of like overall perfectionism.
Yeah.
Almost like
you need to be a
creating.
boss babe, you need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like creating an army of robots.
Yeah. And a lack of individuality and
Yeah, because if everyone's starting to look a certain way, if everyone's wearing the same thing, if everyone's eating the same thing, if everyone's looking the same way, you've just got a bunch of robots. You don't have individual humans.
Yeah, that's so true. Did you know that color is actually like disappearing from the world? It's like, don't get me wrong, I love like beiges and neutral. I actually genuinely think the aesthetic is like quite nice.
Yeah.
But it is indicative of color disappearing from the world. Like
really?
Yeah, like that you can I'll put a link to this. This is really cool. There was an article I read about how minimalism has started to remove aesthetic like details in things, including color. So our color palettes from in fashion and the arts and architecture are just becoming smaller and smaller and smaller as the world moves towards logos. Brand logos were so much more decorative and beautiful, and like, think about things, logos from like the 1920s compared to now, and now we appreciate this like block, very simple, generic.
I guess you can think of like, remember Apple when it first launched and it had a rainbow over the apple, and now it's just all grey. And they were, Apple released those iPods that were like in a rainbow of colour, and now like that wouldn't be, you have these now
neutrals, and if you do have colour, they're like pastels. And that's fine. I do think they like look nice, but it's colour and individuality, and that is, I mean, maybe we'll cycle back into a different aesthetic later on. Like, we'll have our fun with the beiges for a bit and the minimalism, and then we'll go back into being individual and creative and colourful. But sometimes I wonder if that's kind of a reflection of this thing that you said, like creating an army of robots, getting everyone to dress really like uniform and similar. And I don't know, does it save companies money if they only have to like make things in one color, or if they, economically, does it make more sense to?
Maybe. Well, I think that we're starting to become very good at conforming because we've got so much social media where we think the same way. We're all starting to think the same way, and we're all starting to be able to persuade really easily on a wider level. And the color thing is really, really interesting too, because I always go back to the motherhood thing, and I always go to like what's that doing to our kids? Like for me, like for Lando, I have very bright colors everywhere. I don't know, like the fact that people are maybe making like all their nurseries like all grey, for example.
Oh, that
like
sucks.
Kids' rooms all grey. Like, where's the fun in that? And
just because it fits in the aesthetic with the rest of your house.
Yeah, like what are they gonna do? Like, what are they gonna do when they're growing up and going, okay, like I'm growing up in a grey room,
really
and the only
boring,
colour that they see is on an iPad or a phone.
Yeah.
It's not
That's
nice.
so depressing.
It's so depressing.
It's very depressing. Yeah.
Not to mention, like circling back to this whole aesthetic of that girl, of doing like exercise, meditation, journaling, eating like a whatever meal, making a smoothie in the morning, dressing up in like perfectly matching active wear. By the time that you're getting to work, you're probably exhausted, and the research on decision fatigue shows that you're not supposed to be doing this stuff for all of these things.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I fully agree. There's no, it's like having an 18-step skincare routine is a bit fucking excessive. There's nothing, like, it's like, come on, go. But it's hard. I'm walking this fine line because I don't want people to misunderstand me when I mean that, like, having a routine or a little bit of a morning ritual, we've talked about this on the show, it's like having those moments of gratitude, that's fine, but you don't need to have all of these extra products to do that. You don't need all of these, you don't need to be a massive consumer.
Yeah.
You don't need to do you don't need to have like a special gratitude journal to practice gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to have all these Drunk Elephant products to like have a nice morning routine. That's the thing that makes me very angry.
It's not evidence-based.
No. Not at all. Like, having yourself something to be like, okay, cool, I feel ready for the day because I've done blah, blah, blah. And maybe your thing is morning yoga or whatever, but just pick one. I have my coffee and then I do this, that. But it's become so excessive. It's like the consumerism on that. Like, the amount of products you can get now to help modify your morning routine is just insane. It's like you've bought all those products, you'd spend a lot of money if you wanted all the different coffee creamers and all the different things that go, like, all the different facial products, all the different, like,
I know,
eye masks, lip masks, hair masks, perfumes. There's just so much. There's just so much shit.
Yeah.
It's like that's you're cluttering up yourself, that's where, like, capitalism has, like, jumped on the train as well.
They love that girl.
Getting you to, like, yeah, they love that girl because that girl can sell some shit.
That girl can sell some shit, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is like, whilst we're on skincare, I just want to touch on this. Like, I have done extensive research into skincare, although I'm not a dermatologist, and there are 3 things, or maybe 4 things, that you need if you want to have a healthy skincare routine and to maintain a good skin wellness. The first thing is a simple moisturizer, like as simple as like a $5-10 moisturizer.
Yeah. You
can have a retinoid if you're really concerned about aging. So you can have a retinoid or retinol. And sunscreen.
Sunscreen, for sure.
Sunscreen every single morning to protect your skin. And they're 3 things. Oh, if you really want, you can get a cleanser. But okay, that's like $40 max. You can budget that into a very small amount of money.
Totally.
And you can have a skin wellness of that girl.
Yeah. Also, to add on to that, as someone who's like, I've come off the back of taking Accutane or isotretinoin, which if any of you have taken that, it is a very intense acne medication. So I suffered with really, really bad acne here on my face due to just various hormonal things. Sometimes women in their later 20s can just get it. I don't know why it happened or where it came from. I tried every product ever to get rid of it. I did everyone's skincare routine. I was doing masks. I was doing this. I went to Mecca. I bought all the stuff. I spent so much money trying to get rid of it. It was an underlying hormonal issue, and it could only be fixed medically, like with a dermatologist supervision. And that drug has also had like a lot of side effects. It needs to be very strictly supervised. But I feel so offended when people pretend like, no, I've got this dewy skin because of my 18-step skincare routine. No. And also to it almost suggests that like people with acne just aren't doing the right things.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, you just haven't bought the right products yet. It's like, I tried everything. I spent so much money trying to fix my skin, and all for what? For it to just end up being fixed. Like, most of the acne's gone. I still suffer with like dermatitis and eczema and things from it, but yeah, like that made me feel unbelievably depressed for a while because I was watching all these girls. I was like, if you just, maybe you should just try this face oil.
Drink some water.
Oh my God.
I know.
And it's just, that sucks, Nothing wrong with like a nice skincare routine if it makes you feel organized and ready and fresh for the day. Stop telling people that they need to buy all this crap.
Yeah.
In order to be just like, to have like an amazing skin, because there are some variables that you can't control in there, like hormones and all sorts of other things that go on.
Yeah.
Genetics, like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So. That's what I have to say about that.
I just want to add on to that. There is someone in my life that I know. She's the healthiest person I have ever met. She's a beautiful girl, and she also had acne at a stage in her life, and she is by far the healthiest person, the healthiest, most well-balanced, diet-wise person ever. She did what you did. She tried all the skincare products. It didn't work. She had to go on medical, like Accutane.
Yeah, you got to go
see. Had to go on.
Absolutely. And then and circling back when you talk about like clean girl aesthetic, that girl. They always have beautiful, supple, like glowy skin, and you know what? That even the name of that clean girl, if you don't have that, what are you, dirty girl? What are you, just like a grub? Like that is, it's so insulting. True. And that's how I felt. I felt gross, and people, because it's on your face, people are trying to. I mean, and they have good intentions, but they're constantly like, "Have you tried this? Have you tried this?" It's like, yes, I wash my face every day. I do all the things. I eat well. I look after myself, and it's still there because it's medical. And it's like that is something that clean girl failed. Like it makes you feel bad because it's like, well, if you're not doing all these things, then you're just a dirty grub. Yeah, it's your fault that you have acne. Yeah, that's just one example of it too. Yeah, so that's just skincare. So
absolutely, and then that's the same with like weight gain and weight loss. Like weight is such a multifaceted thing. If you're stressed, if you're stressed, that impacts your weight. That impacts your hormones, for example. Your hormones, if you have certain conditions, like PCOS is a really good one. There's certain things that you can't, like, that fluctuate your weight. And
absolutely,
it's not necessarily just all diet. It is a serious topic, these shifts are really toxic, and they target women, particularly young, vulnerable women. And it's gonna take some of them a really long time to recover from something like that, girl, and it's so unfortunate. But I feel really passionate about this. So I guess we covered that girl and how that girl is really related to like a Tumblr girl or a Fitspo girl around the kind of 2010s era on Tumblr. And we spoke about some of the ramifications that can have.
Yeah, and I think it also highlights a really good point that, like, just because you see something online and it looks a certain way, you don't see what happens behind the scenes, especially when it comes to like celebrities who are sort of promoting that girl and that certain style or aesthetic, trying to sell products, or giving out recipes and things like that. So there's so much going on behind the scenes for their PR work and things like that, in terms of like maintaining their weight. You're not seeing the full picture. Yeah. So don't follow these people expecting to like live their lifestyle, because if you're not a super celebrity with 4 private chefs and a personal trainer and all of like several people just monitoring you all the time, that's you're not going to be able to achieve that, and that's okay. And you shouldn't strive to be those people. And while there's nothing wrong with like wanting to have some, have a gratitude journal or
have a well-balanced diet.
Have a well-balanced diet. Have a morning routine. That's fine. But it's okay if you can't, if you wake up in a day and you're stressed and you don't do those things. You're not like a bad person. And all of a sudden you're not, you can still be an amazing person without being that girl.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, and you're not a dirty person if you are not the clean girl. You're not, it's not like you're not looking after yourself if you don't look exactly like those other girls do on TikTok or Tumblr, or I don't know if Tumblr exists anymore, but on Instagram in particular.
Yeah. I think that young girls or people might not necessarily realize is that even that behind the scenes footage that you see on Insta or on TikTok is not behind the scenes footage. It's scripted. It's manipulated.
Yeah.
It's like the PR people have said realism is really in right now on TikTok. People want to see behind the scenes of like celebrities and powerhouses and how their companies are built. So a marketing strategy in and of itself for those people, like Kylie, for example, is to film herself behind the scenes.
Yeah, but it's not really behind the scenes at all.
It's not really. It's very, very well scripted and very well planned.
It looks like it's behind the scenes, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, on that note, it has been a serious episode, but it's important to cover this stuff. And you guys, if you are feeling like this, this trend is impacting you, please see a health professional, and we'll link some useful websites down below.
For sure.
So yeah, and if you're keen on listening to more of us and what we've got to say, then please like, comment, follow, subscribe, depending on the platform you're in, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Thank you for listening.